The Supreme Court hearing arguments in the high-stakes case about whether Donald Trump can be banned from running for office for his actions surrounding January 6th. Senior national correspondent Terry Moran has that story. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, George. In this unprecedented case, the justices are being asked to decide whether Donald Trump can be removed from the ballot under the 14th Amendment. And that could potentially give them tremendous power over the presidential election. But it was clear from the arguments in court, they don't want it. A rare moment of agreement. The Supreme Court's liberal and conservative justices voicing shared skepticism about this case. At issue, a Colorado court's decision to ban Donald Trump from the 2024 ballot in that state, based on Trump's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election and his role on January 6th. The Colorado court found Trump violated the 14th Amendment, Section 3, which declares that no one who has taken an oath to support the Constitution and then engaged in insurrection can hold public office afterwards. During 3 hours of oral arguments, the justices methodically took apart that ruling. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a Trump appointee.
What about the idea that we should think about democracy, think about the right of the people to elect candidates of their choice, of letting the people decide?
And Justice Elena Kagan, appointed by Barack Obama.
I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States.
Trump appointee Amy Coney Barrett agreeing.
It just doesn't seem like a state call.
But looming over these arguments, the national trauma of the attack on the Capitol. Even though Trump himself describes that day as beautiful, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson got Trump's lawyer to acknowledge the reality of what happened.
For an insurrection, there needs to be an organized, concerted effort to overthrow the government of the United States through violence. And this
so your point is that a chaotic effort to overthrow the government is not an insurrection?
No, we didn't concede that it's an effort to overthrow the government either, Justice Jackson. Right? None of these criteria were met. This was a riot. It was not an insurrection. The events were shameful, criminal, violent, all of those things, but it did not qualify as insurrection, as that term is used in Section 3.
But for Donald Trump, this day in court looked like a win.
This was a great day. Our Supreme Court hopefully will be doing something in terms of helping our country and preserving democracy.
A decision in this case is expected sooner rather than later. This is a case about the Colorado presidential ballot, and the presidential primary in that state is on March 5th, so we should see a decision in weeks instead of months. George?
Okay, Terry, thanks. This brings our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl, our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams. Dan, you said the court was going to be looking for a way to overturn Colorado. That was pretty clear yesterday.
Clear. The question is it going to be 9-0, 8-1, 7-2? And the other question, of course, is going to be what's going to be the reasoning. Look, the most appealing argument is a common sense one, is this idea that one state shouldn't be able to dictate in some way, shape, or form the outcome of a national presidential election. But that's not really a legal analysis, right? That's what is the practical impact of a ruling? So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of worked their way back from that and effectively said, no, the state can't enforce the 14th Amendment in that way, and they can use one of a different series of off-ramps to get there.
John, President Trump was happy with the Supreme Court yesterday. I wonder how long that's going to last.
Yeah, he was happy because he saw it clearly going in his direction. But of course, we have this immunity case coming up, and Donald Trump is once again expecting the Supreme Court to come to the rescue, and they haven't done that for him. And he's been furious about his own appointees in the past for not helping him out, not helping him overturn the election. So yes, happy for this moment, but we'll see. Also, George, very important. They're going to claim vindication if this goes the way it looks going to go, the way it looks it will go. But the court did not address the fundamental question of whether or not Donald Trump is guilty of what happened on January 6th, whether he aided and abetted an insurrection. That question was simply not addressed by the court and will not be reflected in whatever opinion.
That seemed very deliberate. It made me wonder if there were some behind-the-scenes conversations among the justices on that. Dan, let's talk about the special counsel's report. Bottom line, no charges, but highly critical.
Well, look, from a legal perspective, if that's the only way you're looking at this, yeah, sure, win for President Biden. No recommendation of charges, specific language in there distinguishing it from the Trump case. But as a practical matter, it was a disaster for President Biden.
Politically.
Politically, but also in terms of the language he uses, some of the reasoning he's giving for why he wouldn't bring charges, because The jury might see him as just an elderly man who doesn't remember things. I mean, I think from a practical perspective, he would have been better off with Robert Hur recommending charges, but not putting in the language about how bad his memory was. Because the memory reference was 9 times in there, and I don't think anyone's going to remember, oh, charges weren't brought. They will remember the language that Robert Hur used.
I don't know. I agree that it's politically very damaging. I don't think charges would have been helpful to President Biden.
Recommended. They wouldn't have brought them. I'm not saying they would have brought the charge. I'm just saying a recommendation wouldn't have meant anything.
Donald Trump wants them to drop the charges against him now, based on that.
Yeah, and they'll make that case in Florida. Look, it was devastating, and then frankly, it was made worse by the way President Biden came out and responded last night. I mean, this is.
Don't you think he had to respond?
I think he had to respond, but you know, first of all, the memory mistake, the mixing up of Mexico and Egypt, the angry response. It was not a good moment for President Biden, and Democrats this morning are asking questions about, you know, what it all means. For
He'd already responded once, remember, right? This was his second time responding to this. Yeah,
not good. Not good.
Thank you both very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.